Welcome to the West Coast Speakeasy, Vancouver Island's finest.
Welcome to the West Coast Speakeasy, everyone. I'm here today with Tyson Elder. He's a professional photographer based in Victoria. Just got off shooting Phillips Back Yard for 3 days, which sounds very exciting. And yeah, thanks you so much for coming.
Yeah, no problem. Happy to be here.
Yeah, my pleasure. I think we could just maybe get into it by going back to the beginning and just telling everyone about how you got into, live music photography specifically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it's funny. I was thinking about this earlier and I was like, how did I get into live music photography? Like I sort of half dropped out of film school. I was going to film school, came back, and I was like, I still want to do something creative. So I was helping my friends sell merch for their bands. And between,
Mhm.
shows, I was or like sets, I was taking pictures with like my point and shoot camera of the other bands. And that was early 2000s, and here we are now,
25
2026.
years later.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
still doing it. So just
Wow.
with more expensive cameras.
Yeah, for sure. And you started taking it seriously 12 or 13 years ago?
Yeah, maybe a little bit more than that.
Hmm.
I was working in radio and started taking some pictures at concerts a little more seriously for the radio stations, and then I joined some volunteer teams at Rifflandia and a couple other things just to get better access to
Hmm.
shooting some things. And
Yeah.
it turned into uh, a bunch of friends hanging out, and we sort of started Rocktographers as an art gallery show once a year. We do a thing celebrating all the photographers in town and their favorite shots,
Mhm.
and then that turned into a publication.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very cool. And so, is there anything that made you choose photography specifically over video?
Time,
Yeah.
hard drive space, especially now. But yeah, I always loved photography. It was always something I was passionate about. I
Mhm.
thought I really wanted to be a filmmaker for a long time, but the further I got into that world, the less I wanted to do it, and the more I wanted to just freeze those moments and have
Mhm.
more fun with the moment I was in instead of
Yeah.
worrying about them later. So
Mhm.
photography sort of just made more sense, and like in my brain made a lot more sense than film.
Right. And do you think there's something about photography with respect to like capturing specific moments and the emotion within them that's yeah, you prefer over video?
Yeah, I think with video, like you're really fighting to capture that moment, but like 30 seconds of that moment
Mhm.
and pinpointing those things. And I find photography, it's like once you get the eye for what's going on stage, and it's just like a sixth sense. I just know when someone's going to jump. I know when someone's going to do something with their guitar or throw a drumstick. I just know in my mind when those are going to happen. So I just know when to grab them now.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Cool. And so how did you get the opportunity to do all the Phillips backyard stuff?
A few years ago, Always Home happened, and it was the first music festival back from COVID. It was
Right.
like the only music festival that happened at the end of COVID. And the team behind that asked me to come on and help them with some media stuff. And they went on to do the Phillips thing and brought me along with them, which has been pretty amazing to be
Mhm.
their like media liaison and their head photographer for those things. It's been amazing. And just one of the most wonderful times of my life is like to be so close to some of the biggest acts in the world.
Right.
Yeah.
So you've been doing that for a number of years then.
Yeah, I've since the start of the new Phillips backyard. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And so being the media liaison, like what does that entail you doing?
So I help them vet all of the media who apply for the festival
Mhm.
and the photographers and all that sort of thing. And we go through and make sure everybody's providing what they're supposed to provide to us and the content and that sort of thing.
Mhm.
And then I also do all their photos and yeah, all that other fun stuff too.
Yeah,
So
right.
yeah.
So how did you enjoy this year's festival?
Oh, this year was definitely my favorite. Like Modest Mouse is one of my favorite bands.
Oh,
So
cool.
like
Yeah.
just getting to photograph Modest Mouse was amazing. But
Mhm.
like there was a lot of very cool things happening and some big additions to the festival.
Mhm.
the grounds, the new Dylan Willow stage that's run by Music BC was just huge, and kind of nice to see a friend celebrated in such a big, important way when he was such a big part of our music scene in Victoria. So yeah. And, seeing bands like Angine who are selling out 20,000
Yeah.
people things at Quebec Folk Fests and stuff like that. So yeah.
Cool. And so, yeah, I was asking before, but like, who really stood out for you this year?
Yeah. Yeah, that was like a tough question upstairs when we're just
Mm-hmm.
chatting. Like Modest Mouse was amazing.
Hmm.
Seeing Wolf Parade again was really cool. I've seen them a lot over the years, but like, I don't know, there's like a new energy to them. I
Hmm.
think, obviously Heated Rivalry was a big boost for them, but like, and then, like, Angine was very cool, and a lot of people were very excited. I was one of those people who was very excited,
Hmm.
but like Fake Shark was one of my favorite acts of the weekend, and like Duckworth,
Hmm.
who like I'd listened to a couple songs, but I was like totally blown away by his performance.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah. Cool.
yeah.
And that the solo female from who was like the multi instrumentalist. I can't quite
Oh,
remember her name.
Sudan Archives.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she was really cool.
yeah. So a couple years ago, Sudan Archives played Phillips before, and
Right.
on her flight here, they lost all of her gear,
Hmm.
everything.
Yeah.
So it was a pretty funny, not funny situation. And she got there and she didn't have any of her outfits, anything like that. So she sent some crew members to the local sex shop, and she
Yeah.
got an outfit from the sex shop, which
Yeah.
was like rainbow fishnets, and she wore that with like pasties. And then she didn't have any of her pedals or any of her like other stuff, just her violin and bow. And she actually borrowed the pedal board from the guys in Trophy, one of the
Oh,
guitarists from
really? Yeah.
Trophy Dad.
Yeah.
And he like went over all that stuff. So like Trophy Dad, these local guys who are first of the day
Hmm.
are lending all of their gear to, this artist. And she played a completely different set than she would normally. Like there was a lot of, backing tracks and electronics and stuff, like, and
Hmm.
it was very, very beautiful seeing her full ability
Yeah.
at this versus before, where she was just kind of playing with some guitar pedals and a violin.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. She had a pretty amazing stage presence.
Yeah, and like she had these contacts in
Yeah.
like right up close. You're like, it looked like she was like peering into your soul every
Yeah.
time she looked at you. It was, yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah. Crazy. And so with yeah, Angine De
Yeah.
Poitrine, was that challenging with trying to, capture the energy and the atmosphere and there being so much hype around them? What was that like?
Yeah, like I've never been around like the a band that's had that kind of cult following so early, and
Right.
and like there were people lined up at the gate painted in polka dots
Hmm.
before the gates even opened. There were people who like rushed, they were coming to see Angine. They were at the barrier first thing, and they stood there all day waiting for that band. And it it's a little intimidating when there's a band that like everyone's eyes are on
Hmm.
right now. Like they just got long listed for Polaris song now,
Right.
and they're shortlisted for the album. And it's just like people are like going nuts for this band that, I don't know, is very cool, but like I don't know if I'll buy their records, but
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, but they it was so cool, and just trying to capture that energy, and on, it felt like on such a smaller scale compared to what we're seeing
Hmm.
at all these big folk festivals or
Right.
like jazz festivals across the country and the rest of the world, where there's 20,000 people there to see them. We got to see them with 5,000. Like
Hmm.
we feel lucky for that. And
Right.
yeah, and it was like probably, yeah, one of the most stressful photo shoots for me ever, just trying to get the photos. And then afterwards, the producers were like, "Hey, we know you have a drone here. Can you get a drone in the air and get some video of these guys?"
Hmm.
And I was like, "Sure." Meanwhile, I panicked on the inside because my drone was on the other side of the venue in a place I couldn't get to through 5,000 people. So we figured that out really quickly, how to get that. And I basically threw the drone in the air, got the last minute to 30 seconds of their set,
Hmm.
and the crowd just bouncing and really, really in love with that that band and pulled it down, and I was like ecstatic about what we got. But
Mhm.
it was a very stressful few moments leading up to that, and thank goodness we're at a brewery because I could have a beer
Yeah,
after.
right. That's awesome. And
Yeah.
like, how did you like their music?
Like it was so interesting listening to it live. Like I'd watch the KXP session
Mhm.
and listen to some of their music ahead of time online, and
That was the one that like really blew them up, the KEXP one.
XP's, yeah,
Yeah.
that was like some little session they did in a basement or wherever, but
Mhm.
like it it really surprised me how well it translated live. Like it's not something I'm gonna like I said, return to
Mhm.
often, but like it was interesting. And like, I don't know, I think you get a couple guys like that who are creating something totally unique to them.
Mhm.
I hope it has some staying power and like puts more acts like that on the map.
Right. And so not just like a fad, a short
Yeah.
kind of fad, because they're all instrumental, right?
Yeah, they're all instrumental, and then they have some kind of alien language that they speak in between songs. And yeah, they're pretty much all instrumental, which is an interesting thing to see in the middle of a rock and roll festival too. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's like it's a little different when you're seeing Fish or
Right.
something like that, where
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, I'm down for
Mhm.
a 30-minute jam, but not so much in the middle of a hot rock and roll day in a parking lot behind a brewery.
Yeah. Yeah, no, they're very out of the ordinary,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, which is cool to see. I mean, I wasn't there on the third day, I was there on the second day,
Yeah.
but I know there was so much hype, and so everyone's kind of interested to know like how that went, right?
Yeah, it was really, really interesting to see live. And I mean, there there's a lot of secrets behind that band. Like there's a lot of like you can't take pictures backstage in case they're around, and I like they want their identity to be hidden because
Yeah.
they want the mystery to be there. And
Mhm.
I think that's one of the beauties of that band. You look at artists like Orville Peck who have the mystery of the mask, and
Right.
that intrigues people to go further.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Have you shot a lot of other bands that are similar in that way, with they have some kind of, something they're doing that creates this
Like the
the novelty?
novelty
Yeah.
in for lack of a better word. Yeah. Like last year we had Mac Sabbath, which is a Black Sabbath cover band, but it's McDonald's themed. And they were one of the wackiest, craziest bands we've ever had. And I mean, like they're playing songs that are basically riffs on Black Sabbath songs, but they're about getting a quarter pounder and cheese
Right.
and French fries and stuff like that. The lead singer is Ronnie, Osborne or whatever, and he's dressed up like Ronald McDonald, but he's doing all the Aussie things, and he's got and then you've got Grimace dressed like Slash, and you've got Mayor McCheese dressed like the Motorhead logo, and yeah, it was a wild time, and
Sounds entertaining.
yeah, it was so much, and they're actually going to be touring with Guar coming up,
Oh,
and
really?
like
Okay.
yeah, like they've got their thing going, and Cybertronic Spree, who are a Transformer themed band. I did photos with them a couple years ago, and they're phenomenal, and they just play 80s tunes. Like
Oh,
they
yeah.
play like a Weird Al cover and a
Mhm.
bunch of other things.
Mhm.
They're a lot of fun. And People Mover, who was like a Sasquatch, Bigfoot
Right.
themed
Yeah, yeah.
band, three-piece out of the States, and everything they do is like auto tune voice, but like they're very in character as Bigfoot
Mhm.
and Sasquatch the entire time.
Yeah.
It's a little terrifying as someone who's interacted with them off the stage, but in character. It's a
They're still in character.
they're still in character, and they grunt and they yell. And the lead singer, Yeti Sasquatch guy, he talks through a megaphone the entire time he talks to you. So like
Really?
having a megaphone pointed at your face while you're interviewing somebody
Wow.
is a little
Mhm.
intimidating.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy. So, like, what would be any sort of along that vein, like, what would be the weirdest show you've ever had to do?
Oh, the weirdest show I've ever been to, maybe not as a photographer, but just I was I was working with a band, and we'd done our show, and we were in Nanaimo, and there was a Gigi Allen cover band after us.
Hmm.
And I don't know if you know who Gigi Allen
I
is.
don't know.
Okay, it's a very controversial artist. There's a biopic of him coming out. He used to like defecate on stage and
Okay.
throw it at the audience,
Right.
but there was a cover band of that after we were done, and
Right.
that was bizarre because we were
Yeah.
like some little indie rock band, and then you have some very interesting characters
Yeah.
come into the bar after for that.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
was definitely interesting. I didn't photograph that because I didn't want anything thrown at my camera.
Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mikkel Kopp, who I had on a couple weeks ago, who used to buck all the talent at Logan's, was saying they had a band once that wore diapers on stage,
Oh wow.
and they would like pull cat food or something like that out of the diaper and like throw it at the crowd,
Yeah.
and some pretty weird shit.
No thanks.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
no thanks. I've had beers thrown at me as a photographer. That's as far as I want to go. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, yeah, is there so throughout your career, like, has there ever been a photo you've taken that's really changed the way you felt about the subject? So you may have had a conceived notion, or just didn't know anything about them, and then after taking a specific shot, yeah, it changed your perception of them.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of bands like you go in thinking one thing and then you see them live and you walk away with completely different view of those bands. I mean, even just as a concert goer, I know lots of people who go see things and you're like, "Oh, that wasn't exactly what I expected it to be,"
Hmm.
or "That was way bigger." Um, I got to photograph Charles Bradley once, and I knew he was like a soul funk singer,
Hmm.
and this man who was like in his late 50s, early 60s, he was throwing his body around the stage in a way that like even young bands didn't do. And I just walked away with so much admiration for the craft that he was performing.
Hmm.
He was giving us the old soul revival, the old, yeah, funk feeling. And he had this band that was just amazing. And just, I walked away just with a new respect for that and that kind of music, that art form, and just the people who are willing to give it all for their craft. I mean, I've seen people bleed on stage and not realize it, and I've seen people bleed on stage and know and
Hmm.
I I don't know if there's a single photograph that I can think of on the top of my head, but like there are definitely lots of images in my catalog, in my collections, that are just, they like just change the way I think about music. And there's so many shows I've gone to that I've walked away just completely inspired
Hmm.
by the artist, by the production, by lighting. You know, it's so much goes into every show that it's
Hmm.
just, it's hard to not walk away from every concert without a little bit of awe in you.
Yeah, for sure. And so when that happens, like, and you have to figure out how to capture that in the best way you can,
Yeah.
are you really thinking deeply about what you're doing, or does it just kind of come to you naturally?
I think it comes to me naturally now, but I'm still always, thinking about what's going on around me. I think about the crowd that's around me. Like, is there a way I can capture that energy with the crowd involved?
Hmm.
I mean, a lot of times we're a couple feet from the stage and the crowd is behind us when you're a photographer. So like you don't get all of the fan interactions that you'd like, but if you can get those, there's some that I have from the back of the crowds that
Hmm.
I love more. Or you get, you're kind of capture someone leaning on their partner and
Hmm.
watching the music, and you can tell that that's a moment that's going to stay with somebody forever. And
Hmm.
I think it's those moments that I really cherish. I mean, there's a moment that I got last year at Phillips that like stays with me forever. It was Orville Peck and Noah Cyrus, and it was the first time they were ever doing this duet that they recorded together,
Hmm.
and it was the first time they were ever performing it live.
Oh, wow.
And I just happened to be backstage earlier in the day, and Noah Cyrus asked for me by name, and I was like, "Hi, Noah Cyrus," and she's like, "Can you come take these photos of us when we do perform this song?" And
Right.
that picture is framed in my office, and it's been one of my most requested photos for people's, houses and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So
Wow, that's pretty amazing that
yeah,
you get to do that. And I'm sure like in the moment, it's almost like you would probably be in awe,
yeah,
right? And just that you get to sort of have the opportunity to be able to do that
yeah,
as
and
your job. Yeah.
yeah, it's yeah, it's my job. It's pretty cool to be that close. But like one of the biggest things I take away is like, yeah, okay, I talked to Noah Cyrus and people are like, oh my God, you got to talk to that pop star. And I'm like, yeah, we talked about Curb Your Enthusiasm for 10 minutes. Like we talked about normal people stuff. She asked me for
Yeah.
photos and then we talked about something else
Yeah.
completely. Everybody is just a person. And
Well, yeah, exactly. I was going to say at the end of the day, they're really just like regular people,
yeah,
right?
yeah, just because they're on there with a spotlight,
Hmm.
that's what changes it. But like they are regular people. And
So it gives you like a more human side to
yeah,
people who are sort of, in the spotlight. Everyone looks up at them, but you get to sort of see that much more just
yeah,
human side of them, which is very cool.
yeah, it's amazing. And I'll never take it for granted.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. And so in terms of the challenges, like what do you find to be the hardest part of doing what you do?
I mean, access is always a big thing. I mean, like I'm very lucky with Phillips and a lot of the local things in the scene that I've got that
Hmm.
access. But like, I still have to apply for all the shows through Live Nation and like go to Vancouver for shows and stuff like
Hmm.
that. Um, it's tough, but like it's worth it. At the end of the day, I love what I do, and I'd never stop doing it.
Hmm.
I mean, I'm sure my body will break down and say, you can't do this anymore,
Yeah.
but I'll find another way to stay involved. And, yeah, it's, access is definitely a hard thing for a lot of photographers,
Hmm.
coming up, or not even coming up, just like involved, you just, everybody's trying to get in, and there's more and more people trying to get in these days
Right.
too. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So like, how do you find the difference between shooting here and Vancouver?
Um, yeah, it's bigger, bigger, and like I've shot in Seattle and stuff like that
Hmm.
too, and a couple other cities, and it's been amazing. And it's generally a welcoming community, like
Right.
photographers. Like I was just in Vancouver for something, and everybody was like awesome, and just like everybody's awesome here. Like
Hmm.
it's just like we're all working together to get this thing. And it's like, hey, there's a spot over there,
Hmm.
you switch with me, we'll get,
Hmm.
move around. And yeah, I think, yeah, it's a competitive field, but I think, ultimately we're all, if we're there, we're all working together
Yeah, for sure.
towards the same goal, right?
Hmm. And if there are, anyone watching this, or people who are aspiring photographers or
Yeah.
just coming up, what would the advice be that you would give them in terms of sticking it out and making
Yeah,
a go of it?
I mean, sticking it out is like the hardest thing. I think with any project, any creative project,
Hmm.
I think it's putting in the hours and working through it. You're always going to hit a roadblock. You're always going to have some kind of challenge, but like pushing through, like for the people who are just getting into photography, especially with concerts, it's like, yeah, okay, you can't bring your camera to like Rogers Arena or the Save on Foods Memorial Arena here in Victoria, but you can bring it to Lucky Bar,
Right.
and you can take some pictures of local bands. You can go to those little local shows and take photos, and you know find your skill, find your eye, see if it's really what you want to do. Like
Hmm.
I know plenty of photographers who've started in concert photography or somewhere else, and they're like, I love this, but it's not for me. I want to do something else, but I want to be a photographer. Like one of my friends just one day, he's like, I really want to take pictures of birds.
Mm.
He's like, took a picture of Bruce Springsteen. It's kind of over from there for me. So he's like, I want to be a bird photographer. And he takes amazing nature photos now.
Mm.
And I think a lot of people you just have to work at it and see where you want to be.
Hmm. Is it a lot more challenging with so many people, you know, almost like pretending like they're professional photographers with their phones and the iPhones and everything?
Yeah, I think there's a little bit more of a challenge with that now, but I definitely feel like the people who want to be a photographer are still putting in the work, still doing it with the old fashioned way, the new old fashioned way with a digital camera.
Mm-hmm.
I think the starting point for a digital camera is a lot easier for people these days versus
Right.
when I started. Like, it took me years to save up for my first digital SLR, and it took even longer to save up to like the pro level. But now it's like what I paid for those cameras is the equivalent of what I've paid for my pro level gear. So like,
Right.
I think if you're willing to shell out the money, I think you can do it.
That's more accessible
Yeah.
now. Mm-hmm. Yeah, very cool. And is there anything you've got like coming up in the next, I don't know, let's say the next couple months that you're really excited about?
Yeah. I always like try to think ahead in like what I'm excited about. I know there's a couple concerts that I'm going to just for fun, and I don't do that often enough.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm going to see, a band do the Over the Garden Wall, which was an animated Halloween show.
Right.
They're doing the soundtrack live like
Mm-hmm.
in October. So I'm like excited to see that. I'm just excited to see any music these days. Like there's a country show happening at Wheelies in their parking lot in
Oh, cool.
August that
Yeah.
I'm really excited to see. There's like Bob Sumner and Runner who just played Phillips.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be playing, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm just really excited to see that. And, yeah, I don't know. Like, I mean, I did just see David Lee Roth a couple weeks ago, and that was,
Yeah. How was that show?
it was,
Does he still have it?
uh, he has something.
Right.
He has the stage presence and charisma. The first song, he definitely had his voice, but his backing band does a lot of the
Right.
heavy lifting. But he played Van Halen songs all night long, and it was kind of the greatest thing we've
Yeah.
ever seen. And that was his PR people reached out to us, and the day after Phillips, we were on a ferry over
Oh, really?
yeah,
That's cool.
to go see him at the Vogue, and it was amazing. It was, yeah, but like, I'm always excited to see any music.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have it on my bucket list to see David Lee Roth this year, but
Yeah.
here we are.
And is he like very animated on stage?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was thrusting inches away from my camera. Let's just put it that way. Yeah. And it
You have
was,
some good photos of that?
yeah, there's some people who might pay big money for those
Yeah.
photos, but not me.
Yeah.
They went,
Cringy photos,
yeah,
maybe?
yeah. But he was, hamming it up on stage.
Mhm.
It was like you were seeing him play with Van Halen just, 40 years later. It was pretty fun.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen like, what did I see? I think it was AC/DC or Black Sabbath too.
Yeah.
And and even when they're like in their 70s, it's surprising like how
Yeah.
well, depending on who they are, that like the performances can still be really amazing, and they've
Yeah.
got a crazy amount of energy for someone of that age.
Yeah. I've seen the Rolling Stones like 4 or 5 times.
Yeah.
They were my grandpa's favorite band. He
Mhm.
took me to my first concert, which was the Rolling Stones. So it's all been sort of downhill from there.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, like there's a lot of those legacy acts that still have it going. And unfortunately I won't get to see Ozzy again, but like I did
Mhm.
get to see him at one point. And
Mhm.
it's I'm just excited to see who's next, who reaches out.
Anybody coming to Victoria? Any big or small names, but anybody?
Yeah, I think like without my calendar in front of me, but like I know Fruit Bats are coming to town, and that's going to be like a fun show. That's at the Capitol Ballroom. There's like some cover bands happening. I don't know, like in the next week or so that
Oh
are
yeah.
coming to town. That's like a System of a Down and a Linkin Park Limp Bizkit cover band. And I'm like, I kind of want to go see that.
Yeah.
But that's also the same night as the David Foster
Oh,
event
right.
downtown,
Yeah.
where like CeeLo Green and Josh Groban and the tenors are all playing. So like, unfortunately, I'm going to probably avoid downtown. I think it'll be a little crazy.
So you're not shooting any of that
No,
stuff.
no. I thought about it, and then I just needed a night to myself, and that might be the night to just stay home,
Mhm.
avoid downtown. Yeah.
Yeah. And in terms of like shows that you've filmed or photographed that have like really stood out for you, or that maybe yeah were your favorite, or just on your sort of like top of the mind list,
Yeah.
is there what comes to mind for you?
Uh, like earlier this year, I got to cover Megadeth, and that was like Dave Mustaine is retiring at the end of this tour, and man, like was that just like one of the coolest nights of my life. I got to take my 16-year-old nephew. He was like, can I come? And I'm
Hmm.
like, yeah, dude, I'll get you
Yeah,
a ticket. And
yeah,
he had the time of his life. He's suddenly decided he really likes metal. He's 16, so
yeah.
it makes sense, right? And he had the time of his life. And like there have been some acts over the years where you're just like, how am I here right now?
Hmm.
Like Nathaniel Rateliff was one of those for me. Broken Social Scene on more than one occasion has been like, how am I here? And when you're in a big arena taking photos, you're just like, oh wow, this is one of the most privileged experiences I get of my life, and I'm so happy to
Hmm.
be here and to take these photographs to share this experience with people that'll live well past my time too.
Right.
So it's been pretty impressive to be part of the music.
And when you're in those arenas, like how close can you get?
Well, it depends on how tall the stage is.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like the usually you shoot within a couple feet of the
Hmm.
stage. There's like the barricade
Right.
area where the front row kind of ends, and
Hmm.
there's the security is there, and we get 3 songs in that little
Hmm.
area, and you run around and you try to get as many photos as you can in
Right.
those, couple minutes. Like some bands, like Father John Misty just played Phillips, and
Yep. Yeah, I
we
saw
we
that.
only got
Yeah.
to shoot the first song,
Oh, okay.
but the first song was 10 and a half minutes long. So
Right.
you're like, okay, that makes sense. But then there's some bands that I've shot and you only get the first 3 songs, and their songs are all a minute and a half, 2 minutes. And you're like,
Right.
oh wow, I'm done in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're trying your hardest to get everything you can. And there's also times where you're shooting from the back of the arena,
Hmm.
from the soundboard or
Hmm.
even beyond. And it's a challenge, but you get as close as you can, and that's why you have a good telephoto lens, and
Hmm.
you can get it from is the best you can from wherever you are.
Do you prefer the really small intimate shows versus the big arena style?
I yeah, I love seeing the connection artists have
Hmm.
with the fans, and like especially when I'm a fan of that artist too, and you get to be in that room and it's intimate and like local bands, you get that a lot. You get to connect more, but like the arena and the theater shows, it's like the production is what really really amplifies those shows. Like
Hmm.
it's the next level, and it's hard to compare the two of them. They feel like different beasts, but they're the same thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Because the arena shows are so much more sophisticated in terms of what
Yeah.
they're doing with the lighting and the effects.
Yeah, lighting, production, that sort of thing. Like sometimes you're shooting and there's pyrotechnics and stuff like that, and you're like, oh wow, like I shot Imagine Dragons at one point, and it was like it was the most spectacle I'd ever shot
Really?
before, because there was confetti cannons and pyro and like all sorts of cannons fire, and you're just like, okay, I've got to try to get all of this in one photo. And it was tough, but like
Yeah, I would think so.
but it was impressive. But like I've also had moments where an artist is singing less than this close to me, and it's just been amazing. Like you connect in such a meaningful way.
Yeah, I was going to say it at that point, it's like you're almost part of the show if you're
Yeah,
just a couple feet away
yeah,
from the artist.
yeah. And it's like it's I've had that. It's funny, there's some bands that I've photographed for a long time. I've from the when the first tour they came here to the most recent tour, and like the Arkells, I remember shooting a very intimate Lucky Bar show and a
Hmm.
Capitol Ballroom show, and then a theater show, and now they're playing the arena every time they come to town. And it's a band I've known for a long time, and in passing and stuff like that. And when the lead singer says your name from the stage at Save On Foods in front of all these people, you're
Mhm.
like, oh wow. But like
Yeah.
that's because of those moments so early on where
Mhm.
we were together in small intimate rooms that didn't sell well, and
Right, yeah.
and going to where they are now.
It must be pretty amazing too to be able to see the progression of a band
Yeah.
go from, their sort of humble beginnings to arena level, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's one of those things. It's like every when one person succeeds or one band succeeds, everyone along the way succeeds. You get to see your friends succeed. And I think
Mhm.
that's one of the most important things people sort of forget. You know, the music industry is an industry, and not everybody makes it through, but with the people who do make it through, we got to remember to celebrate.
Mhm.
And when we celebrate them, they celebrate us. So
Mhm.
it's pretty amazing.
Yeah. And so do you think that do you think there's any misconceptions about how difficult or what it's like being a photographer, especially at these shows? Things that you have to do that people might not realize.
Yeah, I don't think people realize how quick of a turnaround a lot of us have to have. Like a lot of us, it's the same. Like a lot of publications, it's same night, next morning. When I work for like a festival for Phillips, I'm shooting for 8, 10
Hmm.
hours, and then I go home. I put all those photos on my computer. I edit them and put them on the line and give them to the parties that need them. And that's when I get to go to sleep, which is usually like 5 or 6 in the morning. That
Yeah. Wow.
And then I got to get up and do it again.
Do it again.
And like it was my girlfriend's first experience of me being like head down
Yeah.
on the computer all night during this last Phillips, and she was like, wow, like you need to sleep. And I'm like,
Hmm.
I'm powered by coffee until
Yeah.
Monday. And then I had to catch a ferry to go see David Lee Roth. But yeah, I was powered by coffee and energy drinks until the end.
And it's just like more or less always like that.
Yeah, it's a grind.
Hmm.
I think everything creative has a hidden element of really hard work that people
Definitely.
don't realize. Like we were
Hmm.
talking about you setting up for podcasting, and realizing, oh, it was a lot lot than
Hmm.
you think. A lot of people think it's just, oh, it's 2 microphones and a
Yeah.
camera.
Right.
It's
Right.
like, no, it's, I got to edit this. I got to make sure the levels are right. And I think people forget that their jobs, their work too, right?
Hmm.
Even if it is creative work, it is work. Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's so much that goes into it beyond just like the end product and the photos that you see, right?
Yeah. And I think people think it's also like one of that's like, oh, you get to hang out with all the rock stars. I'm like, chances are I'm the closest I get to them is with my camera lens. Like there are some occasions where you do get to interact with them, but like I'm not best friends with
Hmm.
Dave Grohl because I'm a concert photographer and I took pictures of the Foo Fighters,
Right.
like,
But you
yeah.
do get to interview some of them though,
So,
right?
yeah, some of
Yeah.
them, yeah, like so like through the Rocktographers publication, we do a lot of interviews. The last couple of years we've done a lot during Rifflandia and stuff like that. I'm very lucky to have a talented writer uh with us on the team, Joshua, who's a very talented interviewer, and he's done some amazing interviews for us over the years. I've done a lot with the Zones Band of the Month program, and People Mover, the Sasquatch band I talked about earlier.
Hmm.
That was my first ever video interview, and that was terrifying. But like you get to connect with some of those people.
Yeah, that's an interesting story.
Yeah.
Like in that too, you have these guys barking at you and yelling at you, and that's a tough thing to manage and to get through and to figure out how to interview
Well,
someone in that kind of atmosphere.
and yeah, like I went in there and I was like, okay, I've watched some of these. They've got 4 or 5 interviews out there, and one of them they pinned a guy down on a toboggan on a snow hill and humped him, and I was like, okay, this is. And then they had one where it was a great interview and they were really thoughtful and still barking at you. And you're like, I don't know how this is going to go. And so I had some questions for either way. And, I could tell it was going one way, not a good way. And so I shifted gears and just like leaned in and
Hmm.
yeah, it was, I was definitely humped by a Sasquatch.
Yeah.
One also might be my father. You'll have to go to YouTube and find, me interviewing People Mover to,
People mover. Yeah.
yeah,
Is that on your own?
it's on the Rocktographers YouTube
Right.
somewhere.
Somewhere.
Yeah. It's been a while since I've looked at YouTube for Rocktographer stuff, but, yeah, it's out there somewhere and it's something. It was terrifying.
I mean, getting helped by a Sasquatch is a pretty good story.
Yeah, I mean, I do live on Vancouver Island, so chances are a little higher that you get humped by a Sasquatch, but
Yeah, right.
yeah.
Yeah. And so with all the Rocktographer stuff, I've been on that website. It seems like you guys have a lot going on. So what are all the different things you guys do?
Yeah, so, primarily, like, we do the concert coverage and
Yeah.
we cover concerts. We do a lot of band promotional stuff,
They're getting in touch with you to do that?
getting in touch with us to do that sort of stuff. We work in partnership with the Zone at 91.3 for their Band of the Month program. We do all the photographs for all the bands during that program,
Hmm.
which has been one of the best projects we've ever done.
Hmm.
It really lets you flex your creativity and work with other artists that maybe, like, yeah, we're in the local music scene together, but maybe we wouldn't have worked together and we get to create some fun moments. Last year I got to build a set for Carmine and they just kind of showed up and I'd built a fake wall with windows and we did that. Uh, One band, we went to a junkyard and smashed car windows.
Really?
Like,
That's cool.
one of the bands this year, Blush, we got to go over to their house and just hang out while they drank coffee and take photos and, hang out with their cats, which was super fun.
Hmm.
Like, like you never really know what you're going to get into.
And that's all through the Zone?
That's through the Zone. Yeah. Like, so
Yeah.
every month they have a band
Right.
that they choose. And, this year, like my favorite was working with Dead Summer. They were like, oh, we kind of want like, it's sort of like a Southern Gothic, we're a two-piece band. We kind of want like something a little moody.
Hmm.
So we went and shot in a church cemetery
Oh, wow.
at like midnight
Yeah.
and we brought some like moody lights and we just kind of worked until we were done. And it was some of the work I'm most proud of this year. So it's, and they're just awesome people to work with. So,
Hmm. And has that helped like the local bands, do you think, in terms of just exposure
oh yeah,
and like helping out their careers?
yeah, the Band of the Month program is a great kickstart for a lot of the local bands,
Mhm.
younger bands, just to move forward. Like it's a little bit of radio press goes a long way. There are songs getting played a couple times a day on the radio. They can take those numbers and say, hey, look,
Yeah.
you know, we're established. You see a lot of those bands now get booked on music festivals and other things like that and move up in the world and connect with bigger artists or management in some way. And I think it's one of the most beneficial things going in our music scene right now.
Hmm. What's your general sense of the music scene here right now? Positive or negative?
It's generally positive. I think there's a lot of like cool and up and coming bands.
Hmm.
I think there's been times where the music scene's not been great.
Hmm.
Um, and I think everything ebbs and flows. And yeah, I don't know. Like I'm really excited about a lot of music that's coming out of our city right now.
Hmm.
And I think there's a lot of people that are going to be putting some music out in the next couple of months and in the next year that I think are really going to blow people away. And,
Oh, yeah.
and I think, I just worked with, um, a Jay, he's Blue Jay Freeze. And this, this kid is amazing. He's like a prolific songwriter and he was a Band of the Month, but he just put out his first vinyl record, through Wrecking Crew Studios in Sydney. And, yeah, the kid's also like a television and movie star, like at the
Really?
same time. Yeah. He was on Lost in Space and a bunch of other things. And,
Wow.
and it's just like, and then in the meantime, he's, traveling between here and Arizona and across the states. He's going to be in Scotland, he said, and he's writing all these beautiful songs
Wow.
on his guitar. And he's like, yeah,
So just singer-songwriter kind of
singer
stuff?
songwriter, yeah.
Yeah.
And he got a full band when he does things, but
Hmm.
like, he's it's so cool to see like people just pick up a guitar, pick up an instrument, and just put out beautiful music into this
Hmm.
world. And they're from the island we call home, which is
Yeah.
it's so cool. And like you start to see that reach
Hmm.
spread beyond.
Right. Yeah, that is cool. I haven't heard of him, but I'd have to check that out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very cool. And so do you think through your time, I guess would be over the past 15 years or so, um, shooting, do you think that culturally you've noticed any major changes here, whether positive or negative, but that yeah, through, capturing all these, thousands of different moments
Yeah.
through your lens, what have you noticed culturally?
I've noticed that if we don't hold on to the arts, it's going to go away. Unfortunately, we live in a time where condo buildings are more important than art spaces,
Hmm.
and it's pushing out a lot of creative people from our city and the other cities around, Vancouver and so forth. I think without some kind of cheap, affordable spaces, not only to play in, but like to live in,
Hmm.
we're losing a lot of the creative vibes that made our city the city that people want to be in. It's such a beautiful city, and it's hard to not be inspired every day in Victoria. But it's also hard to miss that, we're losing we're just losing what made Victoria the vibrant city it was, and that's arts and culture.
The
S-
venues as
the
well. Yeah.
venues, like I know you were talking with Nash Park about comedy clubs, but that's also like music venues,
Hmm.
like we've since COVID, and even be earlier than that, it's just been shrinking and shrinking, and it's getting harder and harder for bands to book into any spaces. We're finding a lot more alternative spaces are opening up, but how long do those last? Do communities start complaining that, there's too much noise in their area?
Right.
And, like I even think, even festival spaces, sooner or later those go away. And, I love the spaces we're in and we can occupy now, but like what happens, 5 years down the road when they want to tear up something to build more condos?
Hmm.
Yeah.
So is there anything that you've seen though, that gives you some, inspiration or positivity with spaces or avenues for artists in the
Yeah.
arts?
Yeah. Um, there's the Dylan Willows family, have started this foundation that last year they got all these kids together and other young artists and had some workshops and stuff like that.
Hmm.
And, there was a kid there who's one of my nephew's best friends, and he's decided he's going full in. And it's like, it's so cool to see young people want
Hmm.
to be musicians and want to be part of these things. And Lake Town Ranch has like a program for people who want to learn how to be, stage crew and stuff like that. And like it's such a positive to see people want to give their experience to other people and share, and that people want to learn those things.
Hmm.
And I think that's the positive, is like storytellers passing on their stories to others to pass on again. So
Hmm.
so I think as long as we can continue keeping arts accessible to everybody, I honestly think that's the positive, is if we can keep sharing our stories and giving young people and other people just the ability to tell their stories. I
Hmm.
think I think the creative spaces will hopefully keep
Yeah.
going just in some form or other. So
Yeah. I think sharing those stories, yeah, is very important. And, it's sort of what I'm trying to do here and what you're trying to do through photography. And I,
yeah,
I guess what a lot of people are trying to do, whether it's music or all these different art forms, but it really does seem like sharing these stories, sharing the inspiration and the culture is
yeah,
is very important.
yeah,
And meaningful and, very enjoyable thing to do, of course. But yeah, we have to keep it going,
Yeah,
right?
we've got to, uplift each other and work together on everything, and yeah, keep going together. I
Mhm.
think together is a big part of that. Everybody's got to work together.
Hmm. Yeah, and I have found that generally here in Victoria, people have that mentality,
Yeah.
which is really positive and are willing to work together or take chances or give people who aren't necessarily that well known yet an opportunity. So that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing to see.
Hmm. Awesome, man. Well, I think maybe we'll kind of leave it there because
Yeah,
that's a
let's do.
very nice way to end things. If people want to, I mean, you've got the Rocktographers website. If people want to check out what you're up to, your photos, where's the best place?
Yeah,
Anything other than that?
you can go to rocktographers.com or .ca, whichever you prefer.
Hmm.
Uh, Instagram, we're pretty active on our Instagram. We post show listings once a month, and we put all of the things we're covering, all the shows. Even when we go to for fun, we film a little bit and put it
Hmm.
in our stories. You can follow me at Tyson Elder Photography on Instagram. I'm
That's where
pretty,
I found you.
yeah,
Yeah.
pretty active on there.
Yeah.
Or, my personal page is just Tyson Elder, and that's just like my day-to-day
Hmm.
photography. It's nothing. It's just travel and
Oh, that's
just,
cool. Yeah.
my life in the spaces I live in.
Hmm.
And yeah, it's easy to find me on the internet. Just look up Tyson Elder or look
Yeah.
up Rocktographers and you'll find me.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. Thanks so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. Yeah. Oh, let's shake.
Oh,
Why not?
yeah, I'm knock them.
Like and subscribe for more of Victoria's finest.